Music has always been part of the Seneca Nation culture. Religious songs have been passed down unchanged for generations, while new songs are created for social dances. Around 1800, South Main Street resident Eliza Leet began to write down popular tunes she was hearing. Her book was continued by her relatives. Music was played and sung in informal settings, but there were formal concerts, such as this one at the hotel on Pulteney Square, which is now the Pulteney Apartments. Churches hosted recitals and concerts, but only allowed religious music and limited the instruments to organ and piano. Linden Hall, from 1855 to 1892, was the first public performance space in Geneva. Village concert halls were often on the upper floors of commercial buildings. This was on the northeast corner of Seneca and Linden Streets, which is now the Super Casuals building. Although their names are forgotten today, famous musicians of the mid-1800s came to Geneva and Linden Hall by train. The Dove Block, built in 1878, had a large hall on the third floor. Dove Hall and Linden Hall coexisted for about 15 years, but Linden seemed to host more concerts. Linden Hall was destroyed by fire on December 31, 1892. Dove Hall became the only space in town, and Ignacy Paderewski played there in February 1893. Linden and Dove Halls were flat, open spaces that could be used for anything. The Smith Opera House opened in 1894 as a ground-floor theater with fixed seats and a sloped floor. Collins Hall on South Main Street was built in the 1890s for music and lectures. It's more commonly remembered as the Elks Club Lodge in the 20th century. We don't have any photos from its time as a music hall. Dussek's Orchestra was one of several groups that played for concerts and dances during the early 20th century. There were a number of Geneva brass bands at the turn of the 20th century. This was an Italian band directed by Nicholas Legnini, the man in the center with the open coat. After Lakeside Park, at the end of East Castle Street, was completed in 1916, the Geneva Park Band was formed to play summer concerts. Geneva schools have always had a strong music program. Godfrey Brown, front center, conducted the band, orchestra, and choruses. Bob Bardeen conducted the band, gave school and private lessons, arranged orchestral pieces for band, and built his own harpsichord. Formed in 1922, the Tuesday Piano Quartet plays music for 8 hands. They rarely give recitals, but meet every week for their own enjoyment. Bob Bardeen arranged Bach's Brandenburg Concerto No. 3 for the group, which was written for orchestra. The Geneva American Legion Post formed a drum and bugle corps in 1929. After World War II, Jimmy Legat expanded the family restaurant on Avenue E and began booking famous musicians for a week at a time. In 1956, Belhurst Castle had a house combo for dining and dancing. Scott LaFaro, on the right, was a musical prodigy in high school, playing in dance combos and the Apple Knockers. He switched from saxophone to bass when he cut his lip while playing basketball. Scott went to Ithaca College, but left after 1 year to play professionally. He quickly became in demand on records and live gigs, playing with Chet Baker, Stan Getz, Ornette Coleman, and others. Scott played in the Bill Evans Trio, recording a live show at the Village Vanguard in New York City in June 1961. He was killed in a car crash near Flint a few weeks later at the age of 25. Hobart and William Smith College's Folk Fest from 1975 to 2001 brought top-name performers like Doc Watson to Geneva. The year Doc came, it snowed in May, and the audience crowded under the tent with the musicians. HWS brought dozens of bands and singers to Geneva. The most famous story is from 1973 when unknown Bruce Springsteen was booked as a replacement band. The show was at the Geneva Theater, which is now the Smith Opera House, and student tickets were $3. In 1974, Billy Joel played in Albright Auditorium as the opening act for Livingston Taylor, James Taylor's brother. Advance tickets were $1.50. Eric Bloom, Hobart class of 1966, got his start with a college band called Lost and Found and went on to form Blue Oyster Cult. In the 1960s, Wilmer and the Dukes were popular throughout upstate New York and are still played on British Northern Soul radio shows. The Echo Men were a high school band from the late 1960s that still plays together in Geneva every summer. Mother Freedom was an older band that could play more places than a high school band and moved to California for a time. In the early 2000s, locals saw Gym Class Heroes play for free at the lakefront and other places around town before they became famous. Milo Bonacci, on the far left, was an original member of Gym Class Heroes and formed the group Rah Rah Riot.